Welcome to episode 441 of the DFO Rundown, as always brought to you by Bet365. It's never ordinary. Get in the game at Bet365. Use the promo code NATION, where, of course, got Olympic hockey, men's and women's. Women's underway. Men's will be get going this week. That, NBA, and more. Check it out at Bet365. I am Jason Greger. We welcome in Jeff Merrick. And Jeff, there's lots to get to. Of course, Olympic Games will get going on Wednesday. And then we have both North American countries going on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, because Sweden's pool, Pool B, is playing on Wednesday. And then we'll rock and roll. We'll see how it plays out. We know all the rosters finalized now, and everybody's there. And now it's just a matter of who's going to win and who's going to lose. Do you have a team? Because most people think Canada, US, and Sweden are the top three teams going in. Is there anybody, who would you give the best chance to knock one of those three off the podium?
Boy, Finland always plays tough in these tournaments. I know that there's no Alexander Barkov, and that stinks. And I know we look at the team from Finland and we say, "Oh, look, it's the Dallas Stars in blue and white sweaters." But I'm always scared of Finland at international tournaments. They always excel. They play a tournament style. Like, they can play a lot of different styles, and there's a lot of skill with the Finnish team, but they're not shy about throwing it around too. But I'll tell you what, Greg's like the one team that I really wonder about is a team that Canada is going to face first, and that's Czechia. And if you believe that goaltenders can still steal games, and I believe that they can steal periods, maybe 2 periods, stealing games is hard. But if you look at someone like Lukas Dostal, we've seen him steal games before, and they have explosive goal scorers in David Pastrnak and Martin Necas, etc. That might be the team. And listen, hockey in Czechia is certainly on their eyes, certainly at the junior level, and that's trickled up to the international senior level too. If there's one, I'm gonna say Czechia, and I think a lot of it revolves around their goaltending. How about you?
Yeah. Man, if Barkov was there, I might have said Finland. And the thing is, the Finns, in lots of tournaments, they always find ways to sometimes kind of punch above their weight class. But I will say, I just think Germany and Switzerland are going to give somebody a real hard time. They might not win, but I think they'll push a team in the quarterfinals that I think will be maybe a little bit harder than someone expects. I just, Switzerland, I know it's the World Championships, but I don't care. They've gotten silver medals here lately. So, and I know the Olympics is different because it is the true best on best, but those countries, when it's a 1 game off, it's a 7-game series, it's totally different. But in a 1 game, all you need sometimes is a bounce. All you need is some momentum, and you're playing well, and a super hot goalie maybe, and things can go your way. So I look forward to it. And it's always...
Did you see what Czechia did with their captaincy today? I love this, by the way. I love Roman Cervenka, who is the all-time Czech leader in points at the World Championships. North American hockey fans would have remembered him from that one glorious season with the Calgary Flames. What is he now, Greg's like 40, 41 years old. So they sort of resisted the temptation to go with the star NHLer. And they've gone for like the veteran mainstay. I really love that. It's one of the things that I really like about, the World Championships or the Olympics. It's not just a bunch of NHL names mixed up. Like, there's a whole lot of like, oh, I remember that guy, or, oh yeah, I remember when he had a cup of coffee with the Philadelphia Flyers. Oh, I remember those 2 years in Nashville. That's always sort of one of the sidebar treats to all of this. The guys that you used to see on a regular basis and you've completely forgotten about, they pop up at the World Championships and they pop up at the Olympics. Roman Cervenka, captain for Czechia. I love it. Small thing, but made my day today.
And I don't think you can underestimate the power of playing for your flag for anybody, and, participating at the Olympics. And that's why we see always just some unbelievable performances at the Olympics. I do just want to mention, man, Lindsey Vonn, that was tough to watch. I saw a lot of people, she shouldn't have raised. Why? I said, her hand hit the gate. It wasn't her knee. It was her hand that hit the gate. And that could happen to any racer at any time. And she was clearly going for it. I just love the fact of perseverance and showing yourself that maybe you're capable of more. The fact she even came back and was winning races on tour, I just think is something that, we should applaud more. But man, I was stunned by how many people should have given someone else an opportunity. Clearly, you don't even know the rules. No. Number one, and number two, this is not about it's who's the best. And she was winning races on tour. She easily deserved to be there. It sucked that she crashed out 9 days ago. It sucked even worse that she broke her leg and crashed out at the Olympics. Yeah. But she crashed out going for it, and she hit a gate with her hand. For goodness sakes, it wasn't that her knee gave out. Oh my goodness, she'll be in a lot of pain. But I just shout out to Lindsey Vonn and just having the grit and the toughness to push through.
Isn't that what we're supposed to love about sports? And I'm going to bring up a couple of specific hockey examples as well. I love the athletes that you have to drag off the field. I really hate the idea that, you should leave the stage while the audience is still clapping. Oh, you're diminishing your reputation on your hallowed place in history by hanging around too long. Like, this is why, and you know where we used to hear this a lot, Griggs? We used to hear this a lot around Peter Forsberg. Remember towards the end where Forsberg it was like he was just trying to find a boot that fit, man. He was just trying to find a boot that could work so he could play somewhere close to as effective as he was when he was the best power forward in the NHL. And there was a whole lot of like, think of his reputation. Oh, what's he doing to his reputation? This isn't the same Peter. I liked him more, man. I liked him more because he wouldn't quit. That no matter what he did, no matter he went through, I don't know how many different pairs of boots to try to find one that worked for him. He never, ever quit. It was another year. I'm going to do it. That's what we're supposed to love about sports, about never quitting, about keeping going, right? Like, and that's why it's like, you're right. It was horrible. Waking up this morning and watching Lindsey Vonn, screaming and sobbing on the hill and then watching her get airlift. It was awful thing to see. But part of me is like, she went for it. And these are the things we're supposed to love about athletes. Not like, I've got to the top of the mountain and I am king, curtain, and the play's over. Like, no, man, you keep going. You keep going. I love the athletes that you need to drag off the field of play. Give me those athletes any day of the week. And kudos to Lindsey Vonn for going for it. I got nothing but respect.
Well, look who's the captain for Team Sweden at the Olympics, Gabriel Landeskog. 2 years away from the game, right? He could have quit. He didn't quit. Avs fans are loving the fact that he's back. The NHL, for him to be named captain for Team Sweden, I think illustrates just because there's a lot of people thought it'd be Victor Hedman, and rightfully so. But you give it to Landeskog, and there's a lot of respect there. And that's just another. He could have walked away. He didn't need the money, but he didn't want to give up. And it's about knowing what you're capable of, and it's supposed to be hard, right? Life is hard. Whatever, a lot of people in life, you can have success, still doesn't mean it's not difficult to get there. So it's a great example to me for Landeskog. And there's many other athletes that have done it, but that 2-year battle for him to see him come back and not only come back, but play well. And now he's captain of the Olympic team. And who knows, what's going to happen with the Avs into the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. So that chapter is definitely still unfinished at this point, but I think we should applaud more the people that just want to do it because they have the love and the passion. They don't do it to always be the best. You do it because you love it.
Yeah. And one more point on Gabriel Landeskog, and this wasn't lost on a lot of people. It's going to sound like an insult to Nathan MacKinnon, and it's not. All right. This is more of a point about Gabriel Landeskog than Nathan MacKinnon. I don't think it's any coincidence that Gabe Landeskog comes back. The captain is back in the room, and all of a sudden, everything feels like it's in its right place. Now, Nathan MacKinnon is intense. And because of that, sometimes he can be tough to be around. Someone that runs hot all the time, like that works for Nathan MacKinnon. It doesn't work for everybody on your team always. Okay. And MacKinnon has like an expectation of excellence and performance that he wants everybody on his team to try to hit. But not everyone burns as hot as Nathan MacKinnon. I don't think it's a coincidence that the moment the captain came back in the room, everything with the Avalanche, Griggs, settled. Mm-hmm. And everyone felt like they're in the right spot. Landeskog's got the room. We're all cool. And next thing you know, we're talking about the Avalanche breaking like Bruins records and Habs records. And a lot of it, I really do believe, like, not to get like too like woo woo about leadership and stuff like that, but I really do believe that a lot of it was because Landeskog was back. So I think that there probably was a discussion about giving the C back to Hedman for Sweden. But you look at what Landeskog does on a team with the team in the room on the ice, and it's kind of a no-brainer. Kind of a no-brainer to me. I'm glad he's back too. Obviously, I would tell you he's my favorite player. My favorite player in the NHL, Gabriel Landeskog. Going back to when he played with the Kitchener Rangers and he beat the brakes off Jake Muzzin, who was one of the toughest in the OHL at that point. He was a kid. Someone took a run at one of his players on the Kitchener Rangers and he went after Muzzin, and everyone went like, "Ooh, Landeskog's bit off more than he can chew." Yeah, not so fast. Loved them ever since.
All right. Speaking of the Olympics, then we'll get to the NHL. Team Canada's lines came out and had a lot of people, question it. I talked about it on my radio show. I thought that Tom Wilson had a legit shot to be the winger to start anyway with McDavid, and he is. It's McDavid, Celebrini, and Wilson. It got a little interesting because MacKinnon and Crosby aren't on the line together. MacKinnon centering Suzuki and Marchand, and then you have Crosby with Marner and Stone, Horvat, Reinhart, and Hagel. And then Bennett and Jarvis were the two extras at practice. Taves and Makar, Morrissey, Parayko, Harley, and Doughty. And then it looked like Theodore and Sanheim were the extras. Yeah. What'd you make of Canada's line running McDavid, MacKinnon, and Crosby as your 1, 2, 3? Do you think that lasts more than a few games?
I don't think that what we begin with, we're going to end with. I really don't. Like, I think, like, and you see tournaments like this, you try to find, whatever is working and whatever is clicking, you stick with. That's why this game against Czechia, like some of the early games, are so important. Czechia, Switzerland, right away, back to back, bam, bam for Canada. You're going to find out what's working. You're going to find out what's not. And that's why there's going to be a short leash for the goaltender as well. You could imagine, I would assume that Jordan Binnington gets the first start, out of respect and deference to what happened last year at Four Nations. And then after that, all bets are off. Just like I wouldn't get married to any combinations right now. And the one thing too, that John Cooper has in his hip pocket, and we saw this in that final game against the United States last year at Four Nations, Sam Bennett and Mitch Marner are a really good combo. You look at the Four Nations last year, Sam Bennett and Mitch Marner together were real good. So if you're John Cooper, you're thinking, okay, maybe we have that in our hip pocket too. As much as you want to just get out there and get these wins out of the way, I think the first couple of games, and specifically the first one against Czechia, is all about finding out what works and what doesn't work. And you got to make decisions fast. And maybe that's why they went with the veteran leadership, the guys that they already know from last year at Four Nations, almost like you treated Four Nations as a chumming of the waters, a sort of appetizer for the Olympics. So you had some type of research already done before you got to Italy. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they went the direction they did, and added in a Suzuki and a Wilson and a Celebrini here for spice.
And then Team USA had Matthews between Boldy and Gensel, Jack Eichel with the Tkachuk brothers, and that was a line we saw at Four Nation. That's not a surprise. Dylan Larkin with Tage Thompson and Jack Hughes playing the wing. Trocheck between Brock Nelson and Clayton Keller. And then, you had the two extra forwards. And then on defense, Hughes and McAvoy, Slavin, Faber, Werenski, and Hanifin. If Werenski's in your third pair, that's unbelievable. I'd be curious to see how much he plays. Should play a lot. And then they had the younger guys, Sanderson and Lacombe, as the two extra skaters. The American goaltending to me is a really good conversation. Hellebuck, Ottinger, Jeremy Swayman. You know what? You could make a strong argument that Swayman's playing the way that he has. He probably should start. I'm guessing Hellebuck's going to get the first game. And USA's pool isn't necessarily the best. It's probably the weakest because there's them. Canada's got Czechia, Finland's got Sweden. I think if Russia was here, then they'd probably be in that pool, or the pools would be different. But I look at Team USA, and now on paper doesn't mean anything until you play the games, but they should be the number one seed in their pool. I don't think there's much debate on that. And I'm curious, same with them. I think that the Eichel Tkachuk line, like that's the one that's kind of in stone. The Thompson, Larkin, Hughes line intrigues me a lot because I think like Tage Thompson is a guy who was great at the World Championships. He's been excellent in Buffalo for the last few years. I was kind of surprised he wasn't on the Four Nations team. And I still think I wouldn't be surprised, like if somehow we see a Thompson Matthews bowl at some point, and man, would that be a big fast line.
Wow, that really would. Although I really do like there are two players that I think really distinguished themselves last year for USA. One was Jacob Slavin. Like, if you didn't already know how good Jacob Slavin is, and if you already didn't know how next to impossible it is to get the puck under his stick, now everybody knows how good Jacob Slavin is. Sorry, secret's out. And that pair, him and Faber were just dynamic last year. I thought that Jacob Slavin was the best player in the entire tournament, but I also thought that Dylan Larkin was right there as well. That's why I'm intrigued with Dylan Larkin and Tage Thompson here. If we get that same Dylan Larkin that we saw at Four Nations, where every game, shift in, shift out, he's the best forward for USA, in my humble opinion, then they got something real special. Strength of USA, though, clearly is going to be that back end. Like, that blue line is going to be trouble for a lot of teams. But here's the one thing that I wonder about, because to your point, Sweden and Finland, tough game. Czechia, Canada, that's going to be a tough game. No disrespect to Denmark, Latvia, and Germany, but it should be a layup for the USA here. But I think that works against them. Like, if I'm the USA, I don't want to breeze through, right? Like, I want to challenge. I want to be tested. I want to see what's under the hood. Not that you can't glean anything from those games, but Canada's going to know more about themselves in their pool than USA is going to learn about themselves in their pool. Sweden's going to learn a lot more about themselves in Pool B than the United States is going to learn in Pool C. Like, we look at it and go like, oh, this is so great for USA. And I think to myself, really? How? Because we've seen this before. You breeze through and then you get your first punch in the mouth. You're like, whoa, what do I do now? And if one of those teams do challenge the United States, then that might be even bigger problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't, as I said, I wouldn't sleep on Germany. I think Draisaitl and Seider and the rest of them are there's a lot of German pride there. They're obviously the underdog, no question, but I think their goal is to be the number 2 seed in that pool for sure and push the USA in that game. The advantage, though, the USA is then you get to be the number 1 seed and then you'll take on the lowest seed in the quarterfinals. And after the top 5 teams, like, I get that, Switzerland and Germany, as I mentioned on the outset, I think they have a chance to potentially push and surprise someone, so you never know. But I'd still take my chances against them rather than having to face Finland or Sweden or Czechia. And so we'll see how it plays out. Now let's get to the NHL. We're gonna have a little fun here because it's what did you learn? We're each gonna get 3 here on what did you learn from the first? And I know it's not officially 3 quarters, but just to make the segment better, we're gonna say the first 3 quarters of the NHL.
Okay. So you want to go issue for issue? So my first one's going to be about officials. And there's something that's happened in the NHL, and you're starting to see it more and more. Now, I know for every single fan base, it's only a problem when your bull gets gored. I understand it, and then the officials are awful, and these guys are terrible. It's a common refrain. We see it in hockey. These officials are piñatas. But there's something that's been happening in hockey, and it to me has sort of hit a crescendo this season. And that is, it seems as if game in and game out, there is more and more complaining about the officiating, to which I always say, A, hockey is the most difficult sport to officiate. And B, it's not like there's a group of better officials hiding in a closet that the NHL is keeping from their fans. Like, NHL officials are the best of the best. I assure you, you're about to get a up close and personal, even though it's not exclusively IIHF, European officials in Italy. You're going to get an up close and personal look here at what European officiating is like. And I got to tell you, it can't hold a candle to North America. But there has been a deterioration in officiating. And here's why. And I don't know how to get out of it. But it seems as if this is happening more and more. Every single fan base, legitimate gripes about officiating. We focus, Griggs, a lot on how fast the game is right now. And it is. Yeah. It is so fast. And the one thing we don't consider is, and all these players are agile and quick and all of it. The one thing we don't consider is it's really hard to keep up. if you're a referee. That's why the referees, the linesmen right now in the NHL, they're all ex-players. There's a lot of college players, a lot of D1 guys. There's a lot of minor pros. There's a lot of guys that played hockey in Europe because these guys can keep up, right? Like the first thing, talking to Stephen Walcom, first thing you have to be able to do is keep up. So you're getting a class of ex-NHLers who are now officiating, as opposed to getting guys that have been referees and linesmen since they were like 14 years old. So they're used to the abuse. They're used to the scorn. Hockey players aren't used to that. It is a tough adjustment to make, which, as some veteran officials have told me, makes them hesitant to make tough calls or makes them overwilling to throw out, out penalties, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. What I'm getting at here is there's been such a deterioration. Older officials who can't keep up with the game anymore, but had a feel for the game and knew how to call a game and understood, the rise and the fall and the ebbs and the flows of a game and understood how to call it properly. They're not in the game anymore because they can't keep up anymore. And by the time those officials who can keep up get to the place where they have enough games that they can get a feel for it, then all of a sudden they're the guys that can't keep up anymore. That to me seems like the problem with officiating, and I don't know a way out of it other than completely taking officials off the ice. Like you look at Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball has got and it has nothing to do with speed and agility. Obviously, when you're an umpire in baseball, they have guys into their 70s, that are working at MLB. You can't do that in the NHL. So it seems as if this year, more so than ever, there's more complaining about officials. And I think that's the reason why we've gotten to this place. And Jason, I have no idea how you get out of it. I have no idea.
So I would say this: the fact that they're trying to speed guys through who have had 1 or 2 years. I don't care if you played minor pro. Positioning of officials matters the most. I've talked to Kerry Fraser. I've talked to Dave Jackson for years on my show. I've learned a ton about officiating. And the number one reason for error is positioning. It's the number one reason. They say then you end up guessing, you're not in the right spot. And there's lots of officials who have been officiating for years and they can skate well enough in the WHL and the American League. They don't have to be pro players, but the NHL has decided we're going to expedite, we're going to speed guys through because they've got some pro experience. And I think that's their biggest mistake. I really do. I don't think they're promoting the officials, guys who, you know what? You can skate well. I see a lot of these guys who didn't play pro hockey. They can skate just fine. You don't have to be as fast as Connor McDavid to be in the right position.
The constant refrain that I hear though from some of the vet guys are, you need to be able to be fast to get to position because everything in the NHL now happens suddenly. It happens so fast.
But the right position.
That's my point. But it's a matter of how quickly can you get there? Yeah. Sure, you can get there if you're officiating a Medicine Hat Lethbridge game. Sure, that's great. But go do Columbus, Minnesota.
Yeah, but I guess I would say this. Like when Becker played, and I'm just using him as an example because he's one of the recent ones. Ben Becker was not an elite skater by any stretch of the imagination, right? So is he that much quicker? And if that's what you're looking for, then get officials at younger. There's lots of guys who can really skate, who play CIS hockey, who can really skate, but maybe don't have the size or don't have the processor to finish and play, at a high level. But they can skate well enough. So I think they've got to start getting at younger ages and say, okay, let's get you in here. But you got to have multiple years of experience, not 1 or 2. To me, that's the big problem.
I agree. Yep. No, I agree. But the thing is, they've had to rush guys in by necessity now too, because so many guys have aged out. All those veteran guys who can't keep up, they've all aged out. So the volcano demands sacrifices. So they've had to expedite players in there. And I think the psychological one too is when you're a player, everything is all about celebrations and triumphs. When you're an official, it's the opposite. And that really messes with a lot of guys' heads. And it's really upsetting for a lot of guys who have spent their careers playing as players now to be on the other side of it. It's tough. And I just don't know how to get out of that situation.
Well, one thing for me that I learned in the first half, and it's a great reminder. I have learned that the NHL needs to change their overtime rule and do it quickly. Don't wait. Don't wait till it's already aging out. If you're getting rid of the officials because it's aged out because they can't keep up, well, 3-on-3 has aged out because you're not adapting. Yeah. They changed the rules from 4-on-4 to 3-on-3 because they felt 4-on-4 was getting too defensive. And there's too many games going to the shootout. We've had more games go to a shootout this year than we had each of the last 2 seasons. And there's still, 400 plus, there's 400 games left to go in the season. So to me, the NHL this offseason recognize the issue. It's very simple and change it. That's all you got to do. Change it. You can say that once you're in the offensive zone, you can't go over and back, or you want to use the red line as over and back. I'm fine. Either one, implement the rule quick, sooner than later. Because I've learned that I thought it was an issue and it's becoming more of an issue because teams will realize, hey, you know what? Oh, we don't want to give up possession. Possession's king. And I understand it. But possession isn't king of excitement. Excitement is the reason everybody loves 3-on-3, and it's becoming less exciting. That's a problem for the NHL.
Take coaches off the bench in overtime, because what do coaches do? Ruin fun. What do coaches do? Get their hooks into something. And remember those first couple of years of 3-on-3? Oh, remember there used to be like Twitter feeds announcing, hey, 3-on-3 Detroit and Ottawa. They're going into overtime. Get over there. And everybody was like, oh, because it's going to be up and down and up and down and up in 5-minute excitement roller coaster. And it's going to be great. Now, to your point, you're right. It's neutral zone regroups. That's all it is. There's a league in Sweden that's done the over and back.
Yeah, the second division, and I applaud it. I applaud that. That rule also does the jailbreak rule too, which I'm also a big fan of. The PWHL has adopted too. But yeah, that's almost become the league that the American Hockey League used to be, where they would try different things. Now the American Hockey League is. I understand why managers are sensitive about players not getting in one specific habit with one specific rule, and then breaking that when you join the big club. I understand the philosophy behind that, but that league in Sweden, the second division. That's become like a kind of cool experimental lab for some of these hockey ideas. And the over and back I love. It's a great idea. Speed it up. What do you got number 2?
Okay, so I've gone from the officials to if you're going to improve your team in the NHL, you better be ready to make a big trade. Because guys stay. Like that continues. We thought all season long it was going to be like, okay, here we go. It's Connor McDavid. It's Jack Eichel. It's Kyle Connor. All these guys are going to be hitting the free, Adrian Kempe. All these guys are going to be hitting the free agent market. If you want to improve your team quickly, now more so than ever, because guys look for a reason to stay, you better be ready to make a big trade. If you're gonna move yourself forward, because it seems like that's sure you can pick away at the edges, and every now and then we're gonna be great on the waiver wire, and every now and then you're gonna land a gem like trying to think of like Florida, for example, who Bill Zito has played there, Gustav Forsling, right? Although Forsling would have been, I think he would have been there when Quenneville was there, so there would have been that Chicago association. That's probably why I worked for the Florida Panthers. Yeah, but there was that, like, Quenneville knew him from Chicago. That's why I was like, yeah, this guy's on waivers. Yeah, grab him. But I mean, you can do that to help the fringes of your team. But if you wanna have big impact, like we saw last year, Carolina, Dallas, with Rantanen, this year with, Ken Holland with Los Angeles Kings, Artemi Panarin. If you want to move your program forward, get ready to make big trades, because guys generally stay. That song remains the same.
All right. My number 2 is don't count out star players early in the year. So you had some people, and even in Edmonton, Connor McDavid's starting to slow down a little bit. People actually said
they said it about
people were like,
Crosby.
Look at so then McDavid goes off in December and has 34 points in 15 games. But then Nikita Kucherov just says, hey, don't overlook me, because lots of people are like, MacKinnon and McDavid. And I was, geez, those are the only two guys. And then Kucherov goes absolutely nuclear. So McDavid had 34 points in December, and Kucherov had 19. 15, like these guys are the top 3 scorers in the league and they're 15 points ahead. So then since January 1st, Kucherov's like, hey, Connor, he's got 40 points. McDavid has 27. Like it's a wild race. It's a 3-team race, or sorry, 3-player race. And the minute you want to count out superstars, do so at your own peril. It's kind of stupid to even think about it. And in a weird way, Nikita Kucherov is underrated. I was going to say it. He's underrated. He should be in the category of MacKinnon and McDavid. He's outscored them for the last 3 years. When you talk about the best players in the world, you have to mention Nikita Kucherov. I know he's a winger. I get it. I don't care. He impacts, if impact in the game, which is points and assists, he impacts the game. And he has been on an absolute tear. 40 points in 16 games. And he's not even playing 20 minutes a night because there are lots of games they were winning. So he kind of got rested in the third period and he's playing 1958. So, that shapes up for an unbelievable run down the stretch between MacKinnon, McDavid, and Kucherov. They are now 5 points, 3 of them. McDavid's got 96. MacKinnon's got 93. Kucherov has 91. Now, Kucherov missed a few games early in the year, and that might ultimately be the what causes him maybe not to win this. But this is, because he has the highest points per game, but points per game doesn't win you the award. But he's right in there, and he is an absolute tear right now, and he's pulled within 2 points of Nathan MacKinnon. Like, it's wild his last 2 months from December 1st, both McDavid and Kucherov since December 1st have been absolutely shredding the National Hockey League. As McDavid has 60 points in 32 games, and Kucherov has 59 points in 28 games. So those guys have each gained 11 points for McDavid, 10 points for Kucherov on MacKinnon in the last 2 months.
Would you call him your favorite player's favorite player? Kind of like how once upon a time Marian Hossa was your favorite player's favorite player. I'm forever fascinated because players know who's good. Players know who's crap. Players know who belongs. Players know who shouldn't be there. Once upon a time, like all the guys would talk about how great Marian Hossa was. Just like the next level, and casual fans can't see it, but players know. Is Nikita Kucherov that guy now? Where your favorite player looks at Nikita Kucherov and goes, oh, I can't even dream about doing what this guy does. Is he essentially the new version of your favorite player's favorite player? That's the way it feels to me.
I know Hossa was very reliable defensively and probably had a better, defensive acumen than Kucherov, but he didn't have the high-end explosive offensive finish of Kucherov.
No.
Right? So,
Hossa was like big, strong defensive. The thing about Hossa, like there was one skill that Hossa had that you could not give him a bad pass. He took you could throw garbage at him. Didn't matter. He'd scoop it up like he's like a lacrosse ball. He was amazing. Throw it in his skates. Doesn't matter. Throw it behind him. Doesn't matter. Like you could throw anything at Marian Hossa. He could grab it and not break stride. And the players would go like, how the hell does he do that? And like, you look at so many things, like little things like that Kucherov does, whether it's like the art of deception, that fake one-timer to the slot that I still bite on to this day, even though I know it's coming. How does he deceive us still to this day? Where the elite players go like, yeah, that guy's my favorite player because of those things that he does.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I say you're right. Kucherov's much better skill player than Hossa, but the guys just marveled at Hossa's skill.
Yeah, well, you look at Kucherov. He's coming up. This will be his 6th 100-point season. His assist totals. Like, I think he's got it's too bad he missed 6 or 7 games because he might have pushed to join that rare. And I know he's done it once, but even more rare is to do it twice. 100 assist club. Like that is he is an electrifying passer, which I know might sound odd, but that's how I view it. And I think he's a little bit underappreciated, probably because he's a Russian in North America. I get it. But just for pure skill level, Kucherov, don't count out the superstars. What's your last one?
Okay, so my last one is here. Let me just pull up the standings here quickly. I think that we have now officially seen the worst trade in the history of the NHL. The worst trade in the history of the league, which means it completely sabotaged both teams. And the effects of it, you're seeing this season. J.T. Miller to the New York Rangers. The Rangers are worse since getting him. The Vancouver Canucks are worse since letting him go. One's in 32nd place in the NHL as we speak today, and that is, of course, the Vancouver Canucks. The other is in 30th. Like, there have been trades that really didn't sort of, like with big names here too, right? Like not like Yanni Nienema for Mike Ribeiro, which was bad for Dallas, Montreal, but not at this level. Gretzky to St. Louis didn't do much for either team. It was a huge trade, but like it really didn't do much for the Blues, and the Kings really didn't get much back, as it turns out, for Wayne Gretzky. But can you think of a bigger trade that went as far as this trade did to completely unravel two franchises? I've been racking my brain about this one for a while. What's a worse trade? Because this trade helped take down two teams in one fell swoop.
That's a good point, because a lot of times when people hear worst trade, they think of one-sided, where one team,
bingo,
they get a player, yes, they dominate, it's great. And so that is worst trade for one team, but it can't be the worst trade because clearly the other team loved it. And you look at this trade, it's actually a really good point where you say, here's two guys or a trade that both organizations, everyone's like, oh, we got to get rid of the drama in Vancouver. Okay. Pettersson and Miller, they don't like each other. One goes and everything's going to work out. Didn't happen. Nope. I also traded Quinn Hughes later. So that probably, because really in a weird way. Now, I don't know, like the JT Miller trade, we'll all look back and one. And some people have said, man, when Vancouver chose JT Miller over Bo Horvat, that was the start of the demise of the Vancouver Canucks. And, if you think of the domino effect, you had him, he's gone. You had Miller, he's gone. You had Quinn Hughes, he's gone. And you're just like, what the hell is happening? And then you look at the Rangers, and look at the Rangers now. They made out there, and you know what? So they trade away. Like you could make it like the Rangers. There's many things that have led to this. Funny, it's a trade that since it's made has not benefited either team. But it's also two organizations that have had multiple trades that have worked terribly, whether weakening their team. You look at the Rangers, and you know what? Now, I'm not saying if Chris Kreider was there that suddenly they'd be great, but they got rid of some guys that were very popular in the room. And like Jacob Trouba's comments to me his comments the other day did not go unnoticed, where he said, man, I'm having and the Ducks they're battling for their playoff lives. And he was on playoff teams. I haven't had this much fun in a while, I said. And that's just like, man, if I'm the Rangers, and then you see the little childish thing and what they're doing with Liam Greentree, he gets traded, and now people can't talk to him. He's not even on their team, and they're like, no, because people had requested. He was supposed to join, a big Rangers podcast. He was supposed to be on another national show. No, can't come on now because you're a property of the New York Rangers. Like, what? What are they doing? What are they doing? Give me a break. Like there's so many things wrong in that organization, and they've got a lot of internal drama. And I said this about Vancouver beforehand. When the owner came out and wanted to blame, it's the media and everybody else, give me a break. Your own dysfunction internally has led to the demise of your team. Both of those organizations are recent President's Trophy winners, and now they're both with some of the best odds to win the lottery in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Within 2 years.
Think about Vancouver. Think of Vancouver. It was like 5 minutes ago, because you mentioned Quinn Hughes on
they were going to game 7 of round 2 against Edmonton.
And they have, down the middle, Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Bo Horvat, Jason Dickinson. Like that's like Stanley Cup down the middle. Like think about it. Wasn't that long ago. JT Miller, Bo Horvat, Elias Pettersson, Jason Dickinson. And now all you have is the shell of what Elias Pettersson used to be. And that's it.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Like to me, Griggs, I really do think it's the worst trade in the history of the NHL. you're right. So we judge it by like one team got fleeced. You know, Brian Burke, Griggs, you like this. Brian Burke would always tell me when he started, you know how they judge trades, manager to manager? If the person you made the trade with got fired, it was a good trade for you. And it was almost like you collected up guys that you got fired because you fleeced them in a deal. Like, Cliff Fletcher got Doug Risebrough, and that Toronto Calgary deal with Gilmore and Lehman. Like that's the way they judge trades. Now it's all about what do you need? I'm gonna help you. But back then it was like I'm out there to fleece guys. And these are two teams that with this Miller trade fleeced themselves. They both. And again, there are other mitigating circumstances too, but I can't think of one trade where both teams ended up getting submarined like this one. Vancouver and the New York Rangers. Holy smokes. Anyway.
My last one, the one thing I've learned is I think John Cooper and the job he's done in Tampa Bay coaching, they've had injuries and especially key injuries on the back end. And here they are. They got the second best record in the NHL. They're within 5 points. Everybody thought Colorado was just sprinting, walking away. They were sitting there, feet up, going to the President's Trophy. They're not. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been hot, and they've done it with all of these injuries. And John Cooper it's odd that he's never won the Coach of the Year award. And because I think at times the Coach of the Year award is only, well, if you were on a bad team the year before, now you're a good team. It must be coaching despite tons of changes. Well, Tampa Bay was a good team last year. They weren't a great team, but they were a good team. And this year they've lost a lot of their key guys. And Cooper, I know at Bet365, he's right now he's, the slight favorite there. Lindy Roth, Jared Bednar, who's done an amazing job in Colorado too. But Dan Muse in Pittsburgh should get some love too. And Todd McClellan in Detroit, they give them all credit. But I look at John Cooper in Tampa Bay, and what I learned is just how good of a coach he is, because when you have that many injuries to key players and you can just slot guys in, you're either empowering them, right? Mm-hmm. And I get you have to have good players, but you're a coach. You're put in their position to succeed time and time and time again. It's not just a fluke. So I think we've learned that John Cooper, excellent coach, who's not been given his due enough. And I know he probably doesn't care. He's the Coach of the Year award, but he should, because he's deserving of it.
Okay, so I want to share a Greg Wyshynski point from the sheet last week about John Cooper. We're having this talk about Cooper and the Jack Adams, and Greg says half tongue in cheek, but really when you think about it, it's a pretty bold move. John Cooper deserves the Jack Adams for everything he's done with this Tampa Bay Lightning team too. But one thing very quietly that not too many people noticed, but if they were in John Cooper's shoes, probably would have done something differently. We all saw how he was dressed up at the Stadium Series, and he looked great. We all loved it, okay? And then his team absolutely got trounced in that first period. How many coaches would have changed and not come back in the same outfit? Cooper came right back out with the same gear. How many coaches do you think, Griggs, would have been like, okay, you know what? Joke's over. We got to win this hockey game. I'm not going out there with the wide lapels and the hat and the whole deal anymore. I'm going to go back to my conservative coach look. But he came out with the same gear. Jason. What would you have done? Would you have been like, all right, enough of this. I'm not coming back out like Halloween. We got to win this effing game.
Well, it was a road game, kind of, in a way. Like, it's not the regular stadium. Is he carrying multiple outfits? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I guess I would imagine he would have a button-down shirt or something a little bit more conservative than looking like an extra from Scarface.
never want to, because to me, if you did that, that's a losing coach's attitude. Because you've told your players never give up. It's a 60-minute game just because we're down 4, and now you're going to change. Good thing he didn't do it, because I would have read that as
no. I think the point is, like, do you want to serious it up at that point? Like, you don't want your players to look behind you and think that they're looking at Tony Montana.
Yeah, but you're changing. Again, the coach, when he's behind the bench at the end of the day, all his work has come in leading up to it, right? You don't do a ton of coaching during the game for the most part, right? Like little things here or there, like you might adjust to something, but most of your coaching's done prior to the game. So he's probably like, hey, I'm Tony Montana for 60 minutes regardless. So, you guys should get a laugh. Let's keep rolling. So,
I loved it. I loved everything. I loved everything about it.
Let's bring in Pat Puff to the pod. Patty, how you doing, Matt?
You got me. I'm doing great so far. It's been a fun time looking at the Milan Games on Bet365. So we're just gonna jump right into it. Buy or sell, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. I talked about it. You guys mentioned it earlier in the pod, but I just got to go right to it. They're on the horizon. Obviously, we're going to focus on hockey in the Milan Games. So buy or sell right now. Are you looking at a Canada-US final? What do you think, Greggs?
Well, selfishly, it's what I want, yes. And I think that there's lots of – all it takes is, one semifinal, I guess, a quarterfinal loss. But probably, I'd be stunned if both these teams aren't in the semifinal. And I think the way it's going to set up, that they're both going to win, that one of them is going to end up with the number one overall seed. Thus, there's really no way they'd meet each other until the final. So I will buy Canada-US. Admittedly, that there's some bias there because I want to see a rematch of Four Nations.
I'm the exact same way. I'm leading with my heart on that one, but I think I'm also leading with my head. I can't see anybody else in this field. Goaltending is always the wild card, I suppose, injuries too. I can't see anyone touching the United States or Canada. And this will, if we get there, have an even more burning intensity to it, given the entire political climate, not just of Canada and the United States, but Europe as well. And I don't think that will be lost on those in attendance, either live or those watching on television. I'm not going to say that it'll have the same intensity as the World Championships in '69 in Stockholm, because that was Czechoslovakia, Soviet Union, after the tanks rolled down the cobblestone streets. That was still the most politically charged, those two games, the most politically charged games we've ever seen in hockey, period. But this one has the makings of something that's not just, has the intensity of something that's not just sports. And I'm here to see that one.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see how it goes. We all saw the Four Nations and how that was. It's not going to be the same with the IIHF rules, but I mean, both teams still, as much as it's not going to be exactly the same physically, maybe they both want to win just as bad, if not more, than the Four Nations. So it's a matchup I'm looking forward to either way. Second question, speaking of those two teams, but running back to the NHL, right now on Bet365, for an American team to win the Cup, minus 1,000. For a Canadian team, plus 600. Now, obviously, right now, it kind of looks like Montreal or Edmonton. Buy or sell? Are you putting any stock in a Canadian team having a chance at the Stanley Cup this season, Merrick?
If it's going to be one, it's going to be the Edmonton Oilers. Montreal still not there. Inching closer. It's been a great year for them, but if it's going to be one team that's going to be the great Canadian hope, it's going to be the Edmonton Oilers. But even then, and I know whoever comes out of the Central is going to be dinged up, because that first round battle between 2-3 is going to be an absolute war. I just don't think that anyone in the Pacific, and that includes Edmonton, can hold a candle to the top teams in the Central. Greggs?
Well, yeah, I think it's Edmonton. For sure, if there's a Canadian team that's going to do any damage this year. It's too early for me to want to write off the Edmonton Oilers because of McDavid and Draisaitl. And as dominant as Colorado was early on, they've come back down to earth. Like every team in the league, they've got some weaknesses that they will try to address. I think the 10 days from the 24th of February to the 6th of March will have a huge factor, because what are they acquiring? And if Edmonton makes a good acquisition, that's going to increase their chances. But conversely, if Vegas or Minnesota or Dallas or Colorado make a really big addition, and I know Minnesota, it's hard to say they're going to make another one bigger than Quinn Hughes. What an unreal addition for them. That I would still, at those numbers for Canada, it's not bad odds, because the Oilers have made it to 2 Cup finals, and we are on a stretch now where Tampa went 3 in a row, Florida went 3 in a row. So teams have shown you can get to the final 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. At plus 600, it might be worth a unit here because, I mean, as you mentioned, the Oilers have made it there. They have the players to make it there. So it's something to keep an eye on. The last one is the most fun I've had with the bet, I think maybe this season. It's looking at the Milan Games here and who could get the most points in the Milan Games. Connor McDavid leading at plus 400. But this one sparked a lot of conversation between my friends and I, and it's a lot of fun. So it's not a buy or sell, but who on this list, just for the podcast listeners, MacKinnon is plus 500, Pasternak plus 1100, Rantanen plus 1400. Who on this list are you looking at? We'll start with you, Greg's.
Ooh. That's a really good question. Well,
this is a fun one.
I got mine.
If I'm looking at it, I got to pick someone from Canada or US. I actually like the Eichel odds because it's plus 1,600. But I'll go with McKinnon.
I'm going to go with Quinn Hughes. There are games against Germany, Latvia, Denmark, where it could be cookie night for the United States. And we know that Quinn Hughes is going to suck up the majority of oxygen on the United States power play. So, and it's a good number beside his name. I'll take Quinn Hughes in this one. Pat, I'll take Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I like
plus
that. Quinn Hughes plus 2,000. Yep. I think Macklin Celebrini at plus 2,000 is fun too. Cause I mean, young guy in the Olympics, but he loves to step up in moments like this. And from what we're seeing, could be playing with Connor McDavid. So I love Macklin Celebrini at plus 2,000, but in general, there's a ton of names on here that a couple dollars on could get you a pretty good return. It's just a really fun one to watch as the tournament goes on, but I'm excited for the Milan Games and I'll let you guys get back to it. That is buy or sell, brought to you by Bet365.
Thanks, Pat.
That's a really good question.
That's
actually.
a fun one. That is a really good, that's a good one by Pat.
Because you do have to. Your team's got to make it to the semifinal, right? Because then you're playing at least 6 games, potentially 7 if you had gotten the bye or not. So that's what you need there. The Kevin Fiala for Switzerland, I found interesting number for him that he was even higher than some of the other Canadian or American players. But what I look at Canada and the US and like Matt Boldy is a guy I wouldn't sleep on, man. The season he's having for the Minnesota Wild. I think the Quinn Hughes bet is very good. And I wonder my the player I'm probably most intrigued to watch in this tournament because the first 3 quarters of the season have not gone remotely close to where he'd want as an individual or as a team. But Auston Matthews for the Toronto Maple Leafs / Team USA. And if all of a sudden you have a big tournament, that can change a lot of things for him going down the stretch. Right? I know that now New Jersey's out of it because another guy I'd put in that is Jack Hughes, who did not have a good 4 Nations. But I look at Auston Matthews and I think if USA wants to win, Auston Matthews has to make a name for himself. I know that's probably stupid. He has a name, but he's got to put his stamp on this tournament for Team USA, I think, if they're going to win.
It's interesting. We've talked a lot about we always talk a lot about Connor McDavid. We talked a lot about Connor McDavid this week because of the Players Tribune piece. And, looking around the room and seeing, cup winners. Oh, this guy's got a ring. That guy's got a ring. This guy's got this championship. This guy's got, Olympic gold. This guy's got Stanley Cup. The same thing that is happening between Connor McDavid's ears about cementing legacy and reputation. Much like Connor McDavid, Auston Matthews doesn't have a gold medal. Auston Matthews doesn't have a Stanley Cup. And he'll look around at this tournament and see a lot of other players, just like Connor McDavid, and see all those guys that have enjoyed the ultimate success. Now, Matthews is more laid back than Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid would be a horrible poker player because he wears it. How Connor McDavid is feeling and how much he burns to win. He's quite open and upfront about it and how much it means to him. I don't think that Matthews needs to be as demonstrative as Connor McDavid in order to prove to anybody that he has those same desires and that's why he plays? But you can rest assured that he does. That guy burns to win a Stanley Cup. That guy burns to win a gold medal as well. So as much as we talk about McDavid and that drive for legacy, I think I'm with you, man. I think it's the same thing for Auston Matthews. He's just not, up front and at times angry publicly about it when things don't go his way. Just a different cat. That's all.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, because that's an organization. We talked about the Rangers and the Canucks, who went President's Trophy teams to, big lottery teams. And you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, but they're not overly close to the playoffs either. They're 6 points out with 25. Yeah. And I know people, 6 points isn't much, but it is when you start to look at the team in front of you, right? And you're the Boston Bruins, who currently, they got 25 games ready. So let's say Boston, wins 14 of those games, right? Let's say they go 14-10-1, which is a good record, but not crazy record, right? That gives them another 29 points. They end up with 98 points. Well, then the Toronto Maple Leafs, they need 36 points in their last 25 games. So you got to probably go like 17, let's say, wins, 2 overtime losses, 17, 6-2. If a team goes 14-10, right? So let's say they go 13 and 11-1. If you're the Boston Bruins, like, it's just, they don't have to be great, but you got to be really good. And that's why 6 points in 25 games, never mind the Panthers, who are 8 points in 25 games. Like, I think at times people, they think of the 6 points as, it's just 3 wins, but it's much more than that, because it just is. It's hard to make up ground. I know Robert had done it on Buffalo, when in their, how many teams they gained ground on when they won 10 in a row. And even in that whole stretch of, like, they went 20 wins, 3 losses and 1 overtime loss. And they only gained 6 and 7 points on Montreal and Detroit. So that was 24 games, and they won 20 of them and only gained 6 to 8 points on teams. So that's how good you have to be, or they're going to need multiple teams to fall off, not just one. Right? They need multiple teams, because they're not in 9th place, right? If you're in 9th place, well, then you only got to worry about the teams ahead of you, really, unless I guess there's teams tied or 1 point back. But when you're got to jump over 6 teams like Florida, it becomes really difficult, because you need multiple teams to crater.
Here's the question too. Have you seen, based on the games that you've watched by the Toronto Maple Leafs, any indication that they have that kind of run in them? We can see them win like 4 games in a row. Sure.
Yes.
But like a Buffalo run, a Columbus run, like, what have the Maple Leafs done to show you that they have that in them? Because if they did, I missed it. If they did, I missed it.
They're going to need their goaltenders to get back to the level they were last year. And I will say, I know it's only small, but that's all you can go off. Their last 4 games, their goaltenders have looked pretty good. And so if Wall and Stolars can both play well,
been really good.
That's going to be their only chance. But that's a big if. Is it possible? Yes. We've seen guys get super hot and when you don't expect them to, but that's the only way it's going to happen. And then the interesting thing is, you look at who they're playing. They play Tampa, they play Florida, they come right out of the gate. So they'll know even sooner. They'll probably know by March 1st, and their GM will know what he's doing.
Yeah, this has been an absolutely disappointing season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, compounded by, in every game that Maple Leafs fans watch him play for the Boston Bruins, getting better and better and better, compounded by this resurgence by Marco Sturm's team. And every time you watch Fraser Minton, he's getting better and better and better and better and better. And the Boston Bruins keep on climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. We really probably don't talk about Don Sweeney enough. I know I'm guilty of it, because we all sort of just played piñata with Don Sweeney as, the Brad Marchand situation, team's taking a downturn, this team's just slowly evolving itself out of, legitimacy here, and they're not part of the conversation anymore. Don Sweeney turned Carlo into a first round pick and Fraser Minson and hired Marco Sturm. And like, look at all the other players that he's brought aboard onto this team. I don't think he's going to win the GM of the year, but we really do need to spend some time and applaud what Don Sweeney's done. I know it might not be the most popular thing to do, but you got to respect what Don Sweeney's done because it's really been great. It really has.
Oh, but it, just simply the Morgan Geekie decision. It's been unbelievable. The Boston Bruins, unbelievable. So, you know what? That was, and then on the other end, Seattle's like, what? We didn't qualify the guy because we didn't want to pay him $2 million. Why? Like,
oh, it's so bad.
Ouch.
So bad.
But
you know what though? Like he's
playoffs. Seattle's in the playoffs for now. We'll see.
And they're swinging for the fences, right? So now do we start to put, okay, so here's the question I have for you. Do we now start to put Seattle Kraken in the Calgary basket of when there's a big name out there and available, Carolina's always in, do we put Seattle there now too? Now they sort of played their hand with, you know what, we're going after Panarin. Because it seems like philosophically the organization now is like, we're close. We got to do this. We're close. We can't wait. Like to my point earlier, if you're going to move anything forward, it's got to be with trade. That's the NHL now. You know, tiny little moves, roster moves, waiver moves, all these tiny, you want to move it forward. It's got to be a big trade. We put Seattle in that group now.
Now, I would like to point out something.
Yes.
I thought the no state tax guaranteed you success and a huge advantage in signing the guys. Oh, really? Does California have higher state than Seattle? I think it does significantly. By the way, they were offered $14 million to $11 million. Yes. So I got so tired of that argument because it really it weakens all the great moves. And I've said Florida's never really got a great savings on any of their big name contracts. Bobrovsky when he signed wasn't a deal. Barkov when he signed for $10 million was not a deal. You go back and look at Kucherov and Hedman and Vasilevsky are all top 5 paid at their position when they signed their contracts. Those weren't huge savings. Edmonton got savings on Connor McDavid, no state tax. California just got Panarin $11 million. So can we please stop with the myth that players go there and it's such a huge advantage? Because it isn't nearly the advantage that people want to claim it is. It's great for the player.
The only issue is if Panarin were able to choose his destination and that team could make it happen, he'd be a Florida Panther or a Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
I don't think no, he wasn't because they couldn't accommodate it. But that was his choice. Like that's where he wanted to go. They couldn't make it happen, so he moved on. I think more than anything else, Griggs, I think that he's like a sun worshiper. That at this point in his life and his career, we've talked about this before, how much better your body feels going through a hockey season when you're in the sun. I walk out my front door, boom, shot of vitamin D. This is awesome. I feel so much better. I don't have to wear a parka and big boots and shiver as I walk to the plane. Like, yeah, give me that all day long. That's another massive, massive consideration when players get a little bit older, how your body feels every single day, what your recovery is like, where the best place is for you and your body and your family as well.
I know, but last I checked, the sun didn't change in Florida and Tampa for decades, and Florida couldn't sign anybody. They weren't a good organization despite all of those things. It's always been a no state tax. It's not like the law just changed when Bill Zito took over. Mm-hmm. Bill Zito should get way more credit for building the team he did. And you know what? He paid guys big money. He paid them to stay. Yeah, he gave Bennett 8 years at $8 million. Brad Marchand's getting signed till he's 43 years of age. There's no discount there at all. But they win, and they have been winning, and so good for them. But at times, I think, it's just a state tax. I'm like, no, they've made lots of astute moves. Now, did they use the LTIR to their advantage? 100%. And one last one on this, because this is 2 years in a row, Jeff. 2 years in a row, and NHL players tested positive for banned substances. The NHL needs to wake up this offseason and change the rule and match Major League Baseball. If you have a positive drug test during the season, you serve your suspension, you can come back and play in the regular season. You're ineligible to play in the playoffs. Put the rule in now. Major League Baseball has it. It's a great rule. Right? It doesn't limit the guy from getting his salary after the 20 games for that year, but it limits his chance of playing when it matters the most. And then maybe guys will be like, I don't want to take it. Because Ekblad just didn't deny it, took his lumps, and then they got cap savings on the thing, for God's sakes, which is another crazy rule.
They did.
And it comes back to the playoffs. It's a rule that they should there's anybody give me one reason why they shouldn't put that rule in place.
So here's what I find interesting about the Caleb Jones situation. Like I find it fascinating. You remember when who was the first? Sean Hill. Remember when Sean Hill got popped? It was talk radio catnip for everyone in hockey broadcasting. We did hours, I'm sure you did as well, on Sean Hill and PEDs, hockey players and PEDs, like all these hours upon hours. Caleb Jones barely put a ripple in the water. He's just like, moving on. Got other things to talk about.
Yeah. No.
You ever thought on that one? Because I just find like it used to be such a massive thing. It was insane. A player got popped. Yeah. No, of course. Like he's not Aaron Ekblad. I get it, right? Or he's not like, Josie Taylor got popped with Propecia, and Propecia is a masking agent, and we went crazy with that too. Yeah. But NHL player got popped with PEDs, and we kind of went, move along. Yeah. Who's on the power play for USA?
No, it's probably because he wasn't a big name. But Aaron Ekblad, even that one didn't get talked about as much as it should. And that's when the NHL should have said, okay, here's a regular player who's a top pair defenseman in Florida. We need to change the rule very quickly, ineligible for the playoffs, because trust me, players now, there's always going to be cheaters. And I get, I didn't know what was in this or that. Of course, that's what everybody says. Sure. Although I will say Ekblad didn't really deny anything. He just took his lumps, and the NHL needs to change it but quicker. Steroids have been around forever. Okay. People will cheat in sports, in life, in marriages. It happens. So guess what? Protect yourself as a league so it won't ruin your reputation. Because to me, you look like a B-level league when you have another major league that has the rule in place that's very easy to adapt. It doesn't change the history of the game. There's no foundational change here. This is a very simple change that should be.
I think it was Victor Conte who said it, who would have been the man behind the Clear and the Cream, one of the sort of the OGs for steroids and how to mask them. When he was asked about drug tests, he would say, "I don't know what you mean by drug test. There's no such thing as a drug test." And be like, "What do you mean there's no such thing as a drug test?" He would say, "There's no such thing as drug tests. There are only IQ tests. Because if you can't pass a drug test, you deserve to get caught and you deserve to get suspended. There are no drug tests, only IQ tests." And the other thing that people have told me about, there's a lot of athletes right now. Once upon a time, athletes just followed whatever their teams prescribed, and you followed what your trainer told you to do, and that's just the way it was. There are so many more athletes in all different sports who follow their own program, who listen to, Huberman Lab podcasts and read their own blogs and have different forms of recuperation therapy and are involved in everything from psychedelic healing plants to red light therapy to all different. And athletes are getting approached nonstop. Especially in Florida, right? That's where I was always told, the doctors in Florida who approach athletes, you would be stunned with sort of miracle growth and rehabilitation cures and enhancements and all these types of things, that I'm actually quite surprised that it doesn't happen more often. Like going back to Sean Hill, maybe I'm just cynical, but going back to the Sean Hill situation with the NHL, I remember saying to myself, if the NHL doesn't catch a dozen, then how sharp are the drug testing teeth? If it only catches one, If it only catches one.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying here, Greg's. That's what I'm saying here. Because you look, it's like one every now and then, and that's it. And if you tell me that the difference between wearing your name on your back of your work shirt and wearing your name on the front of your work shirt is found inside a little vial in your gym bag, and the difference between making $60,000 a year and $6 million a year is that little vial in your gym bag.
I've always thought and hey, you know what? Some say, who cares? My life, let them take steroids, and that's okay. Well, then you just have no steroid rule. But if you have steroid testing, just make it so you're ineligible for the playoffs. I think it'd be very simple, easy fix, and away we move on. That ends up the pod. That wraps it up. Jeff, always good to chat with you. We'll talk to you Monday. Next time we chat, man, we'll have lots of Olympic Games to discuss and more. As that's Rundown, as always, brought to you by Bet6 for Pat. Jeff, we'll chat again in a week.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.